and we are here tonight at City Hall for the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee meeting. I am calling this meeting to order. Again, apologies. We have the agenda. I'm not Chairperson Spiros, but I am Natasha Tompkins, and we just can't do this over Zoom to chair a meeting, so that's why I'm chairing the meeting. So just ignore that part of the agenda. Okay, right now, wondering if there's any conflicts of interest. Seeing none, let's move on to any citizen comments. I do not see any citizens in the room. So we will assume that there are no citizen comments tonight. For the consent agenda, it's the minutes of the February 4th, 2025 meeting, as well as bills and payroll. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion or comment? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. All right, that passes. We are going to move on to number 6, request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 08-2025, Police Department purchase of a retired ambulance from the city's EMS department, presented by Jody Gurnick, Police Chief.
Hey, thank you and good evening. In your packets, I did enclose a memo that briefly explains this vehicle, but I'd like to just recap a little bit. In short, we've had this type of vehicle in our fleet since the 80s. It's a very useful piece of our equipment. We use it to transport personnel, equipment, and also in inclement weather, it becomes a place for a shelter if we have to stay on a scene for long periods of time. Also, it becomes a mobile office area. It's set up like a command post where we can devise plans and we can keep track of our personnel that's actively involved in a case from this vehicle. This last summer, unfortunately, the vehicle that we had blew up. The motor became beyond repair. So we've been without that vehicle since the summertime. It's been a little bit challenging for us. The fire department replaced one of their ambulances, which created an opportunity for us to take on their old ambulance, which is a much better vehicle than the one we lost, fortunately. So we found a plan, and it would require a budget resolution in order to complete that plan. So staff is recommending that you approve budget resolution 08-2025 and move forward towards a common council with that.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, questions, or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? All right, that motion passes. We are on to item number 8, request to recommend council approval of request for qualifications for employment law services. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, I'm so sorry, Jordan. Request to recommend council approval of resolution number 2025-09, writing off of certain EMS accounts deemed to be uncollectible, presented by Jordan Munger, accounting manager.
Good evening. Enclosed in your packet is a memo. This is pretty typical and standard of us. We have a yearly recap of how much we had in outstanding ambulance bills that were uncollectible. Typically, this is out of statutory collections, so these bills are over 6 years old that we can no longer collect upon. If you'd like, I can entertain questions, or if you have questions on my memo, please do ask them now. Otherwise, I basically, per statute, I have to ask whether or not you approve that this is okay.
All right, so usually what we do if it's recommended council approval is we ask for a motion in a second, and then we'll have our discussion. So do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? All right, I do not see any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, that motion passes. We are now on to number 8. Request to recommend council approval of a request for qualifications, an RFQ, for employment law services, presented by Sarah Dressel, Human Resources Director.
Thank you. Good evening. To give a little background, back in 2022, the Common Council did approve staff to do an RFQ for employment law services. At that time, approval was given, and the city previously had Von Briesen and Roper as their law firm, specifically just for employment law. The RFQ was completed in August of 2022, and a new law firm, Stafford Rosenbaum, was selected as the new employment law firm. Typically with these, there isn't a formal agreement or contract. Rather, it's just we utilize them for services as needed by the city. So with the ever-changing climate and legal requirements and updates that are kind of presenting themselves throughout the year, staff would like to again complete an RFQ for legal services to review qualifications and compare the city's needs for services against what law firms have to offer. I did provide some examples of reasons why we have or would need to utilize an employment law firm. A formal RFQ was provided also within the packet and kind of outlines a little bit more of like what we're looking for and what is important to know from each firm. And I am recommending that this committee recommend Common Council approval to complete an RFQ for employment law services and also to select 2 members to be on the interview and the selection team.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. Do we have a motion to approve this RFQ?
I'll make the motion to approve the RFQ.
Wonderful.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, 2 members from the whole council or 2 members from finance budget?
Whatever you prefer.
Does anyone want to volunteer?
It will be super fun.
Oh, if it's super fun, I will.
I did it last time, so I don't know if that, I can volunteer if you need one. Okay.
I think when we went through this 3 years ago, it was the entire Finance Budget and Personnel Committee that had the meetings with the different firms. I think you're suggesting something different here. You're suggesting 2 members of this body plus a couple of staff people.
Yeah, it seems to be you have 2 volunteers, so.
Okay. All right, so we have Mr. Cran and myself. We will volunteer to look at the RFQs when they come in. Okay, did we vote on that? We have not voted on this, so we do need to vote on this. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Now we are on to agenda item number 9, report on the use of our ARPA funds, presented by Jordan Munger, Accounting Manager.
Hello, everybody. You may not know this, but yearly in April, we have to submit a report to the federal government showing what we've actually obligated our funds for related to state and local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF funds, otherwise known as ARPA. And it became it came up through a question that we got from the media saying, what did you spend your ARPA funds on? And so it was a good idea suggested by Finance Director Zelensky that we give this information to the Finance and Budget Personnel Committee as a kind of a recap of what did we spend our money on and kind of where. So you'll find in your packet a memo that kind of summarizes where we've, in a higher level, like our roll-up groups inside a budget, where we've spent our money and when. So in 2022, we received $1.9 million worth of funding. And throughout 2022 and 2025, actually, you'll notice how we actually spent that funding. We spent about $800,000 in 2022, and in 2023, $200,000, 2024, $900,000, and we have a small amount remaining in 2023 which we can carry over because we obligated it as of 12/31/2024 for an electrical project. So you'll notice that a majority of the amount that we spent the funding on was public works, 4 streets project. Oh, there's a no signal detected. Is that a bad thing? I didn't know.
I would say you can probably continue since
Yeah.
it's the last agenda item.
Okay, all right. So we spent about $1.2 million on street projects. This was only 4 of them. 2 of them were major reconstructions. To give you a kind of a glance at this, this isn't even the total of a street project too. When we dispersed the funding, this is about, you know, I figured we covered maybe a third to almost half of the funding for one of the street reconstruction projects each time we gave it. So it was more like a supplementary funding. To give you just a good idea of how much those street construction projects cost. This only helped replace 4 streets in total. So, but we did try our best to, as a group, disperse the money amongst the different departments. And I think it's a good showing of, you know, general government was involved. This had impacts on our revaluation, our voting machines, IT equipment, communication software. We used it for public safety, for fire department boilers, a new partial payment of the new ambulance, culture and recreation, where library computers, audio and video equipment, new boiler system at the 2nd Street Community Center, and then again, electrical upgrades coming to the fairgrounds. So it was used all around throughout the city, and I think it had a great impact actually. So, but I'll entertain, I guess, questions if you have it. This is just for information only.
No, thank you very much for the report.
Yes, Mr. Barg.
Yeah, and I would add that during the conversation, and Jordan kind of said this in a way, but staff met a number of times, and the goal really was to try and get as much broad community value from this money as we could, trying to spread it around so it helped as many citizens as possible. And I think we accomplished that for the most part. I really do.
Yes, well done. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
And thanks to all the department heads.
All right. Do we have any items for future agendas? Oh, Mr. Barg.
Thank you. At a meeting a little while back, the Finance Budget and Personnel Committee voted unanimously to table a further consideration of anything related to the Mackey Business Development Director position until such time as they came forward with a candidate. I got a call earlier today from Denise Sonneman, the Executive Director, saying that they're at the point where they, in the next couple of days, potentially could be ready to make an offer to somebody, and they want to know where the city officials are. So I'd like to either ask that that be brought directly to the council next Tuesday or to this body 2 weeks from tonight, as is your purview, but to continue that discussion as to what the city may be willing to do.
All right, thank you so much. Okay,
I-
any other?
I would assume bring it to the whole council next Tuesday.
That's okay with everyone?
I think we need to speed up the process if we want to get someone hired, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that's a good point, Scott. I mean, if we didn't talk about it until 2 weeks from tonight, then it would still have to go to the council the following week. That'd be a 3-week total. Good suggestion.
Next week.
All right, yeah, that is a good suggestion. Do we have any other suggested items for future agendas? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.